Thank you for taking the time to hear about our reopening policies and procedures at Indian Run. These procedures have been developed by our reopening task force and were affirmed by our leadership council in a meeting last week. We have developed these procedures recognizing that they may need to be revised at any time as needed as the situation changes, which it often does these days. We'll have this a document of these policies and procedures available through our website, or if you're receiving this via email, you can click the link in the email and you should be able to receive these documents there. The trustees are finalizing their documents regarding our cleaning and disinfecting policies and procedures. They're also looking into HVAC, air recirculation, and things like that as we continue to seek to provide a safe place for all of us to gather together. Wanted to also let you know that the Indian Run Preschool will be following separate guidance that is mandated to them by the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services as their licensing agency. And so there may be some times when the preschool differs a little bit from our general Indian Run policies and procedures. So let's talk about some general things that we know we're going to need to follow. First, we plan to not open the building for worship in person or small groups or for the office staff to be in the office until the Ohio Public Health Advisory Alert System, that color coding system for the state, until the Franklin County level is below 3. So we won't open until we're at least a level 1 or a level 2. We do currently have an exception in place for our ministries to the community like Welcome Warehouse and the American Red Cross blood drive. So we still are allowing them to utilize the facility, but we will not be opening in general until we're at a level 2 or below. We are going to require face coverings that would cover the nose, the mouth, and the chin for any time that someone is in the building. The new motto that I've been thinking about is that wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, I am with them. Jesus says I am with them, and they're wearing face masks. So we're going to include face coverings as a requirement for anyone over the age of 10 as we continue in this season, following the guidance of the CDC, the Franklin County Health Department, the state government, and the Dublin City Code. We also want to encourage standard COVID-19 safety practices like practicing physical distancing of 6 feet or more and not coming into the building if you have a fever or demonstrate any symptoms of COVID-19, or if you or someone in your family has been in contact with who has tested positive for COVID-19. So let's talk about when and how we might gather for in-person worship inside the sanctuary. So even if the alert level goes down to a level 2 or level 1, as we've talked about before, we don't want to start in-person worship in the sanctuary until we are able to effectively live stream that service. And we are still anticipating a mid-August time frame for that to be installed and functioning. So we'll look forward to that. We will start with one combined service in the sanctuary at 9:30 on Sunday mornings, and then as the situation develops, we will seek to expand that back to our 2-service regular schedule. We are planning, though, the worship team has decided that we are going to begin offering an 11 o'clock outdoor worship service in the courtyard starting on August 9th. So I'll do the live stream from my house at 9:30 as usual, and then I'll head over to the church and we'll have a worship gathering at 11 o'clock for those who would prefer to gather in person outside in a more safe environment. It's going to be fairly simple. The way I've been thinking about it is simply a preacher, a piano, and a prayer book. Or we'll have some scripture. We'll follow the same scripture reading and sermon as the live stream, but it's just an opportunity for us to gather together in person. So again, that's going to start August 9th. We are going to require the wearing of face masks, face coverings throughout all of the services. So when we gather back inside, we will be wearing face coverings throughout the service. In general, we're going to follow our normal pattern of worship with a few exceptions. We will not be holding hands during the Irish blessing except for those who are in the same household. And we're not going to take those moments for a physical passing of the peace. We're not going to encourage handshakes or hugs or anything like that to maintain that physical distancing. We will not include congregational singing. All music that is provided will be provided by music leadership only. And we're going to follow the guidance of the American Choral Directors Association, the Ohio Music Educators Association, and or the Dublin Public Schools as they consider how to safely return to singing in a public space indoors. So we'll follow that guidance as it becomes available. We're not going to have any printed bulletins or other printed materials. We're going to remove all of the hymnals and Bibles and envelopes and things from the pews so that we have less stuff to touch and less stuff, therefore, to clean. We will be placing our offering in a basket on our way into or out of the worship service. So that's how we'll receive our offerings. For our communion services, we'll be blessing the elements in the worship service. And then we'll offer them to you as you depart the service so that you can consume them outside at your home once it's safe to take those face coverings off. And we are going to encourage folks strongly encourage them to register their attendance so that we can have some effective contact tracing. If someone should tell us that they were in contact with COVID-19 and they attended our worship service, we want to be able to share that information with you so that you can be aware. So we're going to encourage attendance at all activities inside the church, small groups, visitors, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to have any indoor fellowship time or coffee bar or brunch time until further notice, until we learn that it is safe to do so. At the end of the service, the ushers will dismiss by rows, and we're going to encourage, when the weather is nice, for folks to go out through the glass doors at the back of the sanctuary and have some outdoor fellowship time where it's a little bit safer and we can gather in that outdoor space. We're going to plan on seating everyone in every other row. So we've taken a look at our seating capacity when we only utilize every other row to maintain that physical distancing. And if everyone came and sat alone by themselves, we could get about 50 people in the sanctuary. But we realize that many families will be coming together and seated together. So we think that with families gathering together, we could get 100 to maybe 125 people in the sanctuary effectively, utilizing the pews, the chairs, and the altar area for the musicians and worship leadership. If we reach that maximum capacity, we can very easily add overflow seating in the fellowship hall or the celebration hall as needed and set up a live stream there so that you can participate in worship in those spaces, even if the sanctuary does come to capacity on a Sunday morning. We're not going to be offering any Grace Place Sunday School or nursery care, at least at the beginning of phases of reentry. So until further notice, we won't be offering children's ministry during the service, but we will be making efforts to ensure that the services are family friendly. So we're going to try to adapt the services a little bit to give more content to the children and make that a better experience for them. We also will be encouraging and providing some information on how you might create your own family worship bag for children to have them have some activities to do. But we're going to request that you bring that in yourself so that we don't have shared bags throughout the week. So that's kind of how we're going to approach worship as we enter into this next phase. And of course, as things change, we will continue to adapt to them. So we need to also think about how we would allow small groups to utilize the building. When will we reopen the building for the use of small groups? Of course, we're not going to do that until the alert system is back down to a level 2 or 1. So once those conditions have been met, we will ask small groups to follow all those standard COVID-19 safety practices: physical distancing, wearing of face coverings, not coming if you are symptomatic or have been in contact with someone who is symptomatic. We also will be mandating that all groups schedule their meeting time through the church office. So we're asking that there would be no ad hoc meetings or impromptu meetings, but that all meetings would officially be scheduled through the church office so that we can ensure that your space has been cleaned, so that we understand what time frames and how many groups are wanting to be in the building. And so we're planning to mandate that scheduling. As much as possible, we're going to try to use the same room for small group gatherings so that we can minimize the number of different spaces throughout the building that would need to be cleaned. We're also going to be asking small groups to wipe down the surfaces and follow a post-meeting checklist of things that need to be done to ensure that the meeting or that the space is effectively prepared for the next group. We are limiting the use of the building to groups that have pre-existing relationships with Indian Run. So often we'll get calls from outside groups saying, hey, do you have some space where we could meet? And for this next season, we're going to say no to those requests and only offer our space to those who have previously been using our space. So that's our thinking around small groups. As far as reopening the building for the staff, the Staff Parish Relations Committee is working with the staff to determine when and how we would reopen the building and kind of have it open throughout the week. So look for further information as those plans develop. But again, we won't be reopening the building until Franklin County is at a level 2 or 1 on the alert system. So that pretty much covers our reopening plans. Again, you can get the full document available on our website or in a link in the email. And we will be adapting this as necessary. But I do want to say a thank you to our reopening task force who worked really hard on preparing this. And especially a thank you to Cindy Danko-Southey, Amy Catanella, and Julie Stroop, who did a deep dive into the cleanliness and disinfecting requirements and best practices that are available through the CDC and other health departments, and all of that information that they dove into to prepare to help us be as safe as possible. I also want to thank the leadership team for their review of these policies and procedures, and I want to thank you for helping us to provide a safe place where we can come together to worship God and to do so as soon as we can, but as safely as we can, most importantly. As I said, we'll continue to provide you updates as more information comes or as things change. And while we wait, though, let us continue to live into our mission to grow love in ourselves, in our families, in our community, and in the world, so that more people would come to know and follow the way of Jesus. So may God bless you. May God keep you safe and healthy as we journey through this season.